2024 real estate test questions you need to know. So I'm back again. I'm going to be covering these questions. These are some tricky ones. Stay tuned till the end. I hope this video helps you pass your real estate exam. Question number 1. In common law, a deed is any legal instrument in writing which passes, affirms, or confirms an interest, right, or property that is signed, attested, delivered, and in some jurisdictions, sealed. It is commonly associated with transferring title to property. Within deeds, covenants are A. Types of property. B. Forms of money or payment. C. Agreements or promises. D. Property listings or values. There is a lot of vocabulary in this, so there's a lot of words. Take your time on these questions. Make sure you understand the question thoroughly. The answer is C. Covenants are agreements or promises within deeds. So, for example, a warranty deed can include 6 forms of covenants. Those 6 are a series of legally binding promises and warranties to the grantee, agreeing to protect the grantee against any prior claims and demands of all persons in regards to the conveyed land. Question number 2. Utilizing the 28/36 rule, if Rebecca's gross income is $4,500 a month, she would need to spend less than blank in housing costs a month to qualify for most loans. A. $1,200. B. $1,260. C. $1,728. D. $13,500. The answer is B. According to the 28/36 rule, she would need to spend less than $1,260 in housing costs a month to qualify for most loans. Now, to calculate this, all you need is to multiply 0.28 to her monthly income. This is useful for agents to work with clients to determine what loans they can qualify. The 28/36 rule states a household should spend a maximum of 28% of its gross monthly income on total housing expenses and no more than 36% on the total debt service. Now, keep in mind, you are not a licensed loan officer, so this is just a ballpark estimate. When it comes to actually talking about these monthly numbers and monthly payments, let the licensed loan officers handle this conversation. Question number 3. How many miles does a township contain? I'm not even going to lie, I missed this one for sure. This one always hung me up. Sorry, all right, so back to question number 3. How many miles does a township contain? Question A, 6 miles. B, 9 miles. C, 36 square miles. D, 81 square miles. The answer is C. Each square, 6 miles by 6 miles, is called a township. Since each township is 6 miles by 6 miles, townships contain 36 square miles, each one forming a section. I hated these questions, and that's why I included this. So this one's just one you got to memorize. All right, question number 4. Which of the following statements is true about trusts and trustors? A. A trustor is the one who transfers a property upon the trustee. B. A trustee is the one who transfers a property upon the trustor. C. A trustor must be an individual, not an organization, per federal law. D. A trustor must be a financial institution, such as a bank, per federal law. The answer is A. Trusts can be created during an individual's lifetime, or they can be established following someone's death. A trust works as it follows. The first party, the trustor or settlor, transfers a property upon the second party for the benefit of the third party, the beneficiary. The trustee is required to manage the trust property in accordance with the trustor's wishes and in the beneficiary's best interest. A trustor can be an individual or organization. Question number 5, halfway mark. Even after an offer has been accepted and signed by all parties, the buyer and seller may still choose to sign mutual release papers rather than proceed to closing. Which of the following circumstances would not give either party a justifiable reason to insist on a mutual release? A. The buyer finds another property they prefer. B. A little defect is discovered that will take months to clear. C. A fire causes damage to the property that requires extensive repairs. D. The buyer is unable to obtain financing that meets the terms of the contract's financing contingency. The answer is A. All of the other options are justifiable reasons to insist on a mutual release, except the buyer finding another property they prefer. So just make sure with these questions that have a not, read it carefully and read the answers really carefully. Take your time on these ones because these are easy ones to miss just because you misunderstood the question. Before we go on to finish these test questions, if you like these types of videos and you think this content is helpful, please subscribe to the channel. As always, thank you so much for your support and watching the channel. Question number 6. Appraiser Larry has a set of special purpose and public service buildings like schools, churches, and post offices, which he needs to appraise. Which approach to value would Larry, the appraiser, choose to complete the task? A. Cost approach. B. Estate approach. C. Income approach or summation. D. Market data approach or sales comparison approach. So the answer is A. For special purpose and public service buildings like schools, churches, post offices, the cost approach is the best choice. And the reasoning is because these types of buildings usually don't have income. So the income approach doesn't really work. There's also not really a lot of comparable sales to do the sales comparison approach. So cost approach is the best answer. Question number 7. Which of the following best describes eminent domain? A. A term used to describe the right of the government to take over privately owned livestock. B. A term used to describe the right of the government to take over privately owned real estate. C. A term used to describe the right of the government to take over privately owned bank accounts. And D. A term used to describe the right of the government to take over people's children and sometimes pets. Okay, so the answer here is B. Eminent domain is a term that we probably all heard. It's used to describe the right of the government to take over privately owned real estate despite the owner's wishes. So this happens for land that's required for infrastructure like highways, major sewer, railroads, etc. Actually, the 5th and 14th Amendments of the U.S. Constitution permit the government to exercise its power of eminent domain. And so this question sometimes will be a little bit trickier. They'll use a term like a term used to describe the right of the government to take over privately owned personal property. Or it might be a little bit trickier. Just make sure you pick the right answer. If the answers are written a little bit more tricky like that, just make sure you pick the best answer, which is to take over privately owned real estate. Question number 8. Acceleration is a term associated with which type of document? A. Leases. B. Deeds. C. Mortgages. D. Rental agreements. The answer is C. Acceleration is a term associated with mortgages. The acceleration clause is a contract provision that allows a lender to require a borrower to repay all of an outstanding loan if payments are not being made or there is a breach of contract. So usually, if a borrower isn't making any payments on the property, the acceleration clause will come into effect, which demands immediate payment for that said property. It's more of a legal clause that they add for protection to make sure borrowers aren't taking advantage of them. All right, question number 9. A broker's listing on a house expired. The next day, it was listed with another broker and offered in the MLS. A week later, a third licensee called the first broker and asked for the key to show the home. The broker should inform the caller that A. He is no longer the listing agent. B. The house is currently off the market. C. He will leave the key under the doormat. D. He will set up an appointment for showing the home. The answer is A. And yeah, it seems like a really dumb question, but just don't overthink it, all right? He's no longer the listing agent, and he must inform the caller of that info. Anything else would probably be deemed unethical and potentially illegal. All right, thank you for staying with me till the end. If you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button. Question number 10. In a single agency relationship, a real estate broker represents who? A. The buyer only. B. The seller only. C. The buyer or seller. D. The buyer or seller, but not both. The answer is D. Dual agency is one agent represents both the buyer and seller in a transaction. Single agency is a relationship with the buyer or the seller, but not both. Just make sure you read this one carefully. Take your time. This is an easy one as long as you understand what agency is, single agency and dual agency, but just make sure you get this one right because you could quickly misread it or something like that. So make sure you maximize and score the points that are easy points on the test. Because I really want to see you do well, and I want to give you this one extra question here, we're going to go on to question number 11, bonus question. Compliance with zoning ordinances is monitored through the issuance of A, buffer zones, B, CCRs, C, covenants, D, zoning permits. So the answer is D. Compliance with zoning ordinances is monitored through the issuance of zoning permits. So that's where the property owner or developer can't just alter the use of a property without getting a zoning permit. And these permits aren't issued unless the proposed development conforms to the zoning ordinance. Zoning permits are usually required before building permits can even be issued. CCRs and covenants are typically terms associated with compliance, but just keep in mind, right? Zoning permits are how people monitor compliance with the zoning ordinances. Thank you so much again for studying with me. I really hope this video helps you pass your real estate exam.